All right, so now we're going to look at ordering numbers. So with ordering numbers, a tip that I put on the screen, which is in your interactive notebook, convert all the numbers to decimals and then compare with a mental number line. I found that students have a lot easier time ordering decimals than they do fractions and radicals. So what I'd recommend doing, convert everything to a decimal, and then you can use that to order a little bit better. So let's look at this first one. So set 1 on the left. I'm going to go through and rewrite any of these as decimals that are not already decimals. So for instance, the very first one, 2 over 3. I can type that into my calculator as 2 divide by 3, and that gives me out 0.666 forever. So the 0.6 repeating. 7 1/2, well, we know I can convert that part to a decimal. 1/2 is going to be 0.5, so this is going to be 7.5. Square root 2, I can type that into my calculator and get out 1.414. 0.75 is already a decimal. Square root 21, I can type in, and that's going to give me 4.583. I'm just picking 3 decimal places. You don't have to have any sort of number. I'd recommend picking 2 or 3 decimals. Square root of 88, type that thing in and get 9.381. 4.5 is already a decimal, and then square root 201 is going to give me 14.177. Okay, so I've converted everything to a decimal. Now I'm going to order them. So it doesn't specify, but let's just say least to greatest. And so since I'm limited on room, I'm going to just put a number by it. Number 1 by the least, number 2 by the second least, etc. So the smallest number on my screen is 0.6. So that is going to be the least. The next smallest number, 0.75. The next smallest, it looks like, is 1.414, or the square root of 2. And then the next smallest is going to be 4.5, and then 4.583. And the next smallest, 7.5, square root of 88, and square root 201. An easy way for students to think of this, if you round everything to 2 decimal places, think about money. So specifically for this one, $4.58, so $4.58, is bigger than 4.50. And so that's one way that you can think about it, is if you just want to round to 2 decimals and then compare it like it's money. All right, so you have set 2 in your interactive notebook. I want you to pause the video and just practice converting all of these to decimals. So pause the video and convert them all to decimals. All right, so you should have converted them all to decimals, which there were only a couple. One that was a decimal. These other 2, when you type those in, gave you out whole numbers. Now I want you to pause the video and order them from least to greatest. So pause the video and order them from least to greatest. All right, so let's check your work. So these have some negative numbers in them. So I've got a negative 4.5 and a negative 3. Well, think about your bank account. The bigger the negative number is, so negative 10, negative 20, negative 75, the smaller it actually is. So the least of these numbers is going to be negative 4.5. That means I'm in debt $4.50. Negative 3 means I'm only in debt $3. So negative 3 is actually greater than negative 4.5. And then next I have 0. And now I'm going to move into the positive numbers. So I have 7 over 8 is going to be the next number. 2 or square root of 4. And then I'll have square root of 49 or 7. 12 and 14.2. So hopefully you got those right. All right, let's go back to our book. So our book on page 78 says, which of the following numbers would create a list of numbers ordered from least to greatest if inserted in the blank? And I've got 1/2, comma, blank, comma, 0.825. Well, the first thing I would do if you don't feel comfortable with fractions, I would rewrite this as 0.5. 0.825. So I'd rewrite that thing as a decimal because then that's a little bit clearer to see what goes in the blank. And it says that I want to order from least to greatest. So let's look at letter A. So letter A says 1.5. Well, 1.5 would not make that list. 1.5 is not between 0.5 and 0.85. All right, the next one says 0. Well, 0 is not between 0.5 and 0.825. Again, think about money. 50 cents and 83 cents. 1/3. Well, I don't know, maybe. 1/3 is the same thing as 1 divided by 3, which is 0.3333. So now that I've converted it to a decimal, that one doesn't make sense. 0.3 would go over here in my ordered list. All right, the next one, negative 0.75. Well, negative 0.75, there's no negative number that will fit between two positive numbers if I'm ordering it from least to greatest. All right, the next one, 4/5. Well, again, 1, it's the last answer, so hopefully it works, but let's check and make sure. So 4 divided by 5 in my calculator is going to give me 0.8, and indeed 0.8 does fit between 0.5 and 0.825. So the correct answer there is letter E.